Seriously? Hey guys, and welcome to this showcase video with myself, 6+ Stevo. In this one, I'm showing you this guy, the Deffkilla Wartrike. This was a fun miniature to paint and put together, but it was quite tricky as well. Fairly time consuming. It's been quite a long project. And the reason for that, and also the advice I would give to anyone doing any of these new buggies, I say new, they're not really new anymore, are they? They've been out for a good while now. But the advice I would give to anyone, and the reason why it's taken me a while, is sub-assemblies. Guys, you must do these in sub-assemblies, trust me. Do not fully build any of these buggies and glue them all together before you paint them. You could, but I think you would massively regret it when you do come to painting them, because there are areas on these buggies and details that you will just not be able to get to with a brush, or at least it would be incredibly difficult to do. So the sub-assemblies I did on this, I built the entire buggy fully. I left the crew off, and I just kept off those skull mudguards at the front, those side mounted shotguns, and also there's a little sort of dashboard fuel gauge thing just on the top of the handlebars, because the driver himself, one of his hands is attached to one of the handlebars, so you need to put that dash on after you mount the driver. But just those couple of little bits, and the crew I kept off to paint separately for this one. I think some of the other buggies are even more intricate, with more crew and more details in certain bits and enclosed cabs and stuff, so I think they would have to be in even more of a painted in a sub-assembly form. But yeah, so I had to do that, and yeah, it's been fun. It's, like I said, it's been a bit challenging one, but a fun one. And and I'm quite pleased with how it's turned out. Basically, I've hence why I'm showing it off to you now. I've kept to the same colour scheme for my whole army of black, yellow and gold, although it's more of a brassy colour than a gold. I think the colour itself is actually called weapon bronze. And the only sort of change I didn't add any rust to this. I usually add some bits of patches of rust and stuff onto most of my vehicles, but I didn't think this required it really. I don't know why. I think sometimes the rust with the yellow and things, it kind of, because they're quite similar, the sort of yellow to bronze to rust and the browns and things, they kind of blend in together and there's no contrast there. So for this one, I wanted to keep a little bit more contrast, and I think it's worked quite well. This isn't standard either. You'll probably have noticed I did some very minor kit bashing in the form of 2 head swaps. So the first head swap was the driver, who in the kit comes with 2 heads, which is gives you some options. It's literally the only options in this kit is the driver to have 2 different heads, which were both good. I do like them, but I preferred the head that I've given this guy, and that head comes from the Storm Boys set, and I just thought the bandana worked really well, the way it's sort of flapping in the wind and everything, and it kind of the way it curls over his arm, it just, where he's doing that sort of gangster drive-by shooting with his shotgun, I just thought it worked really well, and I'm really pleased with how that head looks on there. And the other head, which I'm sure you've all noticed, is for the War Boss, is not the standard head. The standard head that comes in it, I just feel it's a little bit weedy for a War Boss. It's quite a cool looking head, but it just wasn't quite right, I didn't think. And I wanted to give this whole vehicle, this piece, a real character and a post-apocalyptic look. And this head that I've given him comes from the Auric Ardboys set from Age of Sigmar, this armoured head, and I just think it gives that sort of apocalyptic look perfectly. It looks brutal, it looks savage, and I just love it, and I think it's worked really, really well in my opinion, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. And yeah, so let's talk you through the painting that I did in this. Just before I did that, I based it in the same way as I've based all my stuff, but I just added some rocks things. I wanted to add a little rock, so just get it look like it's driving over the rock, just to raise the height of the front a little bit. I think that worked quite well. Yeah, the painting wise, I did go a little bit further than I've done with some of my other stuff. I went in a little bit more with the highlights. I highlighted up the metallics more than I usually do. Sometimes it's one of the corners I kind of cut when I'm painting up a lot of my stuff, just to save time, essentially, because you've got to draw the line somewhere. You know, if you were going to do literally every little layer and detail on every colour, on every miniature, it would just take you a lifetime to get anything done. So I do cut some corners in some areas. But I went just a little bit more detailed with this guy. He is an HQ choice after all. He is the war boss and the leader of the army. So I wanted to, you know, really work in some just extra, go the extra mile on this guy. I've also done a little bit of freehand work, which I've started doing lately. Nothing too major, but let's swivel it around so you can see. So I've got some black flames on here, which Bad Moons like to do. And then on the other side, I went in for some checkers. Now, I was always kind of nervous and a bit sort of wary of doing things like that, doubting my abilities, but actually they're fairly simple to do. And I'm not great at doing them. And there are some imperfections and stuff there, but it is what it is. You know, you're always your own biggest critic, aren't you? And actually, I think they do really enhance the miniatures when you add on little details like that. And I'm quite pleased with how they've come out and how they look. I did the headlights in the same way that I do all our sort of lenses and scopes and things and all my stuff. That's with a it start off with a base coat of electric blue, I think it is. Then I go up to a lighter blue, and then finally a little dot of white in there, and then give it a gloss varnish just to make them look shiny. I've done all my usual battle damage. That's literally really simple method. I just put on little patches of black paint and then some silver just to make it look chipped and scratched. The tyres, I'm quite pleased with them as well. Just painted black and a very light dry brush of a colour called Uniform Grey. All the colours I use are from Army Painter, if you don't know. Around the back here, had fun doing the leather jackets. I painted up all the details on the leather jacket of the driver and then kind of realised I didn't really need to because you can't really see most of them. This guy's shoulder pad on the war boss with the skull, I painted that first just like you see it, but there wasn't really any contrast. It kind of, because the skull white is fairly similar colour to the yellow, or not different enough, it didn't pop, it didn't look right. So I just went around it with a very thin outline of black just to make it pop, and I think that really does make it pop and you get that contrast. Obviously we've got a third crew member around the back here, the fuel grot, which is a cool little character. He's actually, the camera's not really picking it up very well there, but you can see he's actually pouring in the fuel there. The colour I used for that was a colour called Crusted Gore, or Crusted Sore, I think, which is obviously meant for like gore effects and stuff. But I painted a bit of that on and then gave that a gloss varnish. And I think that came out quite well. You can sort of see it glistening there a bit. I love the back end of this thing. To me, it just looks like the Batmobile. It's got that sort of iconic sort of big thruster and everything. I really like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. There's not really too much to say about it, other than the fact that, yeah, I'm fairly happy with how he's come out and quite pleased with it. And he's just a little bit more progress towards me getting that fully painted army. There's not much more left to do now. I'm currently working on another squad of grots. Once they're done, I'll be moving on to my shooter boys and tank busters, and then my 1500 point list will be fully painted. Once that's done, I will be doing a full army showcase of everything. I'll put them on my board with all the scenery and everything, and we'll take a good look at everything all together. But I've got a little bit more to do before we get there. But anyway, guys, please share your thoughts below. Let me know what you think, if you think I've done a good job or whatever, and offer your critique. And if you like what you've seen here, give this video a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one, guys. This is 6+ Stevo, signing out.